I came to Thailand about 8 years back, thinking I had everything sorted. I'd sold my place back home, had a steady income coming in each month, and thought life here would be cheap, easy, and laid back, but still, full of fun whenever I wanted it. I found out fast that Pattaya isn't just a normal city, and if you are not paying attention, this place will empty your pockets very quickly. Part of it was on me. Nobody made me waste money or walk into those traps, but a big part of it was just not understanding how Pattaya actually runs once you are here long term, instead of just visiting. Living here is harder than most guys expect. I've seen plenty of foreigners go broke, and I almost ended up there as well. I've put together some of the common mistakes and traps I've seen expats walk into over the years. I even got caught by plenty of these myself. This is my own list, and mainly based around people in Pattaya, but counts for everywhere else in Thailand as well, especially if it has a nightlife. These are some of the real reasons why so many guys come to Thailand and end up broke, and what you can do to stop yourself from being one of them. Number 1. Holiday mode. This is a mistake I see expats making all the time, over and over again. A lot of people move to Pattaya thinking they are still on holiday, but living here full time is a totally different story. When you are on holiday, it's normal to overspend. Drinks every night, massages every day, partying all the time, and eating out for every meal with your new holiday girlfriend. The problem is, some people never switch off that lifestyle, and before they know it, their bank is taking a serious hit. Keeping that holiday mindset long term is only going to mess with your money. You are not here for just 2 weeks anymore. You are planning to live here for months or even years. But a lot of foreigners keep partying like they are never going to run out of money. They forget about bills, visas, health insurance, and the random emergencies that come with living here. Eventually, they end up dipping into savings or pensions just to keep up with the lifestyle that they can't really afford. Lots of foreigners also stop keeping track of money or planning ahead, thinking Thailand is always cheap. But Pattaya has changed. Rent's higher, prices aren't what they used to be, and living as an expat isn't as low cost as it once was, especially if you want to have a comfortable life here. The trick to not going broke is simple. Treat Pattaya like your home, not some endless holiday. When the fun wears off, the ones who adjust, like cook at home, drink less, and live within their means, are the ones who survive. The ones who don't usually end up going broke, frustrated, and booking a one-way ticket back to their home. Pattaya can chew you up if you let it. No one is immune. That's why you need to drop the holiday mode as soon as possible. Number 2. Getting into the wrong relationship. One of the quickest ways foreigners go broke in Thailand is by getting into the wrong kind of relationship, and normally it's with a bar girl. No matter how much people deny it, a lot of guys come to Thailand not just because it's cheap or the weather is nice, but mostly because they are attracted to Thai women. And in my opinion, there's nothing wrong with that. The problem is, a lot of guys jump into relationships with the first woman that gives them a bit of attention, or even worse, they start seeing a bar girl right away. Don't get me wrong, when people first move here, I get that they might want someone to start this new life with. But it's really important to pick the right woman. Personally, I'd avoid getting into a relationship with a girl who works in a bar. I'm not saying they are bad people. In fact, most are fun to hang out with, but that is usually where it ends. Jumping into a relationship with a bar girl or even a sweet local girl too early can turn into a total disaster. These girls are used to having the 2-week millionaires blow cash on them, so they're going to expect the same from you, whether you are just visiting or living here long term. A lot of these women are super attractive and know exactly how to make a guy feel special. But you've got to remember, that kind of attention almost never comes free. What feels like a real romance to a foreigner is often just part of her job. You might even feel like you've met a bar girl who's different from the rest because she's not asking you for cash right away. But usually, she's playing the long game. Eventually, you could end up paying for rent, sending money for her sick grandma, or even helping support her whole family. It adds up fast, and it's not rare to hear that guys have burnt through their savings, their pensions, or even sell property back home just to keep her happy. Even if she leaves the bar and moves in with you, it doesn't always fix things. Some of these relationships turn toxic really quickly. Arguments over money, trust issues, and constant pressure to keep providing can drain a guy mentally and emotionally. Of course, there are rare exceptions, but for most guys, these relationships end up being an expensive lesson. They come to Thailand thinking they've found love in paradise, but usually they walk away with an empty wallet, a broken heart, and sometimes even debt. The hard truth is, when you mix daydreams with money, someone's always going to pay, and it's usually the foreigner. I'm not saying don't get into a relationship when you move here, but don't rush it. Date around a bit, keep your options open, and trust your gut. You'll know when you meet a woman worth keeping around. Number 3. Drinking every day. Drinking every day might seem like part of the lifestyle in Thailand, even more so when it's Pattaya. After all, there's a bar on every corner, beer's cheap, and there's always someone to go for a drink with. But over time, drinking every day quietly becomes one of the biggest drains on a foreigner's wallet. It's not just the drinks themselves, though even that adds up fast if you're doing it daily. There's also the social stuff, buying rounds, tipping the staff, paying lady drinks, and don't forget the bar fines. A cheap night here can easily turn into a few thousand baht gone before you even notice. Do that for a month straight and you've burnt a huge hole in your wallet without really getting anything for it. And beyond money, drinking every day also takes a toll on your health. Guys who drink too much usually fall into other traps, bad relationships, fights, and just messing everything up really. And when your whole life is about the bar, everything else starts falling. Work, daily routines, and long-term plans. You can see these guys a mile away. They've become broke, bitter, and repeating the same cycle over and over. Drinking in moderation, fine. But if you move to Pattaya and turn every day into a party, both your money and your life will disappear fast. The expats who make it long term are the ones who know when to pack it in and when to say no. You've got to learn to say no when someone asks if you want to go out, whether it's a friend or a local girl. Stop thinking that skipping one night means you're missing out on something. If you can afford it and you really do want to go to the bars, just try to stick to a Friday or Saturday, then spend the rest of the week doing something else. Number 4. Lending money to other expats. I can only speak for Pattaya with this one. Once you've been there for a while, you start meeting other expats at the bars, cafes, or just around town. You'll soon find your group of people that you like to hang out with, go for beers with, or whatever else you might be getting up to. But Thailand, especially Pattaya, attracts all kinds of people, and not all of them are good news. A lot of expats there have some kind of shady past or bad habits. If you like hanging out in the bars, you'll probably end up talking to other people who are there alone. Just notice if someone's been a bit too friendly and always wants to go out with you. It's not just the bar girls after your money. Lots of these expats are on their last cash and hoping you'll help them out. One of the more overlooked reasons, and something that doesn't get mentioned too much, that foreigners lose cash in Pattaya is lending money to other expats. At first, it feels like you're helping out a mate, someone stuck in a rough place, promising to pay you back next week, and probably throwing in a story about a lost wallet, a delayed pension, or being scammed by a girl. But more often than not, that money never comes back. There's actually a crazy number of drifters, scammers, and pro-borrowers who go from one foreigner to another, living off borrowed cash and taking advantage of trusting Farangs. They are smooth talkers, usually older guys who can charm you fast, often over a couple of beers. Some even act like they've got money, just saying they are having a temporary bank problem or something like that, making it look like you'll get your cash back if you do lend them anything. The thing is, there is zero accountability. Once that money leaves your hand, it's normally gone for good. And calling them out doesn't help much. They'll either disappear, deny it, or come up with more excuses. It can mess up friendships and even bring drama your way, and that's not exactly what you need right after moving there. Every little loan builds up, especially if you do it more than once. Some guys hand out thousands over time, thinking they are just helping someone out. But in Pattaya, being generous with your cash often looks like a weakness. And once people know you'll lend, the word will spread fast. Suddenly, you are a walking ATM, and not just for the bar girls, but for these so-called friends too. If you are too generous and you don't watch out, it won't be long before you are the one needing a hand. Number 5. Getting talked into investing in a bar. You wouldn't believe how many Farangs get roped into putting money into a bar without having the slightest clue how anything actually works in that type of world. Somehow, foreigners get it into their head that an easy way to make cash in Pattaya is to open a bar. That is going to be quick, simple money. The problem is, there are literally thousands of bars in Pattaya, and putting money into one these days is basically asking for trouble. Tourism in Pattaya has been dropping for the last couple of years, so starting a new bar that actually makes it big is pretty unlikely. You've got to watch out for the guys trying to convince you to invest in a bar. They are not coming from a good place and probably already know it's going to fail. A foreigner arrives, makes some mates, gets friendly with the bar staff and the owners, and before you know it, they are hearing about a perfect chance to invest in a bar that's about to get popular. That bar has probably switched hands 5 times over the past 3 years, and every new owner thought they were the one who were going to turn it around. The appeal is obvious, and it's easy to fall for when you think about it. The nightlife looks fun, and owning a bit of it makes you feel like some kind of local king. In a lot of cases, you are not even buying the business itself, you are just taking on someone else's debt. The numbers they show you are almost never real, and after a few months of slow nights and rising costs, it hits you. You've been sold a dream. By that point, your cash is gone, and the original owner is already off onto the next victim. Even worse, Some foreigners let their girlfriends or mates push them into funding these things, thinking it'll earn trust or long-term loyalty. Most of the time, those relationships disappear as soon as the money runs out. It's a quick way to go from hopeful expat to broke and bitter on the sidelines. If you really want to invest, spend at least a year living here first. Figure out the business, paperwork, the local scene, and who is actually trustworthy. And even after all of that, I would still advise against putting money into a bar here. Number 6. Underestimating monthly expenses. Thailand looks super cheap at first. Street food for 50 baht, motorbike rentals for a few thousand baht, and rooms that seem way cheaper than back home. But once you actually settle down and live like an expat, the real costs start piling up, and a lot of guys aren't ready for that. You might arrive planning to live basic, but that soon turns into eating out every day, going to the bars, dating, weekend getaways, and enjoying all the so-called cheap extras that Thailand has to offer. Add health insurance, fixing the bike, phone bills, and deposits for apartments, and before you know it, you are paying way more each month than you planned. Another thing is that things can be all over the place. Back home, bills are pretty steady, but in places such as Pattaya, surprise costs just pop up. Visa fees, a sudden dentist bill, or having to move because the landlord sold your place. A lot of foreigners end up spending tens of thousands of baht a month without even living fancy. The bad part is, tons of guys come here with no real budget. They think $1,000 a month will cover it all, and then they find out it barely keeps them going. You see plenty of YouTube videos of expats saying they live fine on $500 a month, but I just don't buy it. Even if I cut a lot of stuff, the lowest I could do is probably around 1,500. If you don't want to go broke, treat Pattaya or wherever you are living like a normal life, not some cheap dream. Keep an eye on your spending, keep an eye on what you are spending, be honest about what you actually do, and expect surprise costs. It might feel like a paradise, but paradise still costs money. Number 7. Buying instead of renting. Another money mistake a lot of foreigners make in Thailand is jumping straight into buying a condo way too early. The idea of owning your own slice of paradise seems awesome. No rent, your own space, and a place that is totally yours. But plenty of guys sign the papers in the first few months, only to wish they hadn't not long after. They end up realizing they don't like the building, the area, the neighbors, or sometimes Thailand itself. Now, if you don't like it, you are stuck because you rushed. Buying ties you down in a way renting never does. You can't just pack up and leave now. Some buildings have awful management, crazy maintenance fees, or sketchy legal issues around foreign ownership. And once you buy, you are stuck sorting all of that out. Selling a condo in Thailand isn't simple either. The market is full of options. Prices jump around, and if you are desperate to leave, you might have to take a big loss just to get rid of it. The smarter play is to rent first. Take your time checking out different neighborhoods, try out new buildings, and see if that place actually works for what you want long term. The guys who rent before buying almost always make safer, better choices. There's also something else that other expats will tell you to rent instead of buying. I can't say directly here because of the YouTube rules, but I'm sure you can figure it out. Number 8. Buying land or property through a girlfriend. Let's say you are already in Thailand, or you are about to move here, and you've got a girlfriend waiting for you. Whether you trust her or not, it is a massive warning sign if she is pushing you to buy land or property. Another big money trap I see foreigners fall into in Thailand is buying land or property through their Thai partner, which is usually a girlfriend or wife. Because foreigners aren't allowed to legally own the land in Thailand, some try to get around it by putting everything in their partner's name. Sure, if you trust her, that is your call, but do you really want to hand over full legal ownership of one of your biggest investments without zero protection if things go wrong? A lot of foreigners convince themselves she's different or we are in love, she'd never do that to me. But breakups happen, and the moment the relationship ends, so does any claim you have to that property. You can't even take her to court because legally the property was never yours to begin with. There are endless stories of guys getting kicked out of homes they paid for, left with nothing but a bruised ego and empty pockets. Even worse, some women know exactly what they are doing from the start. They play the long game, gain your trust, get you to pay for the house or the land, and then slowly edge you out once everything is in her name. And because the law is on their side, there's very little you can do unless you have rock-solid contracts, which most guys don't. Some foreigners try dodgy tricks like fake leases or setting up companies, but these are risky, legally sketchy, and usually fall apart if anyone looks too closely. The bottom line is simple. If you can't legally own it, don't even think about buying it. Number 9. Starting a business without knowing Thai legal restrictions. Setting up a business in Thailand might sound like a dream come true, but a lot of foreigners dive in without really understanding the Thai legal rules, and usually it ends in disaster. When you are living here on a fixed income, it's easy to get bored, and the idea of starting a business can seem tempting. But this one needs some serious thought before you jump in. Thailand has really clear and strict rules about what kinds of businesses foreigners can own, how much control you can actually have, and how the company has to be set up. I am nowhere near an expert in this, but I'm led to believe that most of the time a foreigner can't legally own more than 49% of a Thai business without jumping through a bunch of legal hoops. That means many guys end up putting the business in a Thai partner's name, leaving them with basically no real control at all. If things go south with your partner or trust breaks down, you could lose everything overnight, and there's almost nothing you can do about it. There's a bunch of rules and work permits, hiring locals, and other stuff that you need to set up a business properly in Thailand. A lot of foreigners will try and get around this by leaning into shady fixes to speed things up, which might work for a bit, but usually comes back later to bite them. And if immigration find out you're doing something dodgy, you could be hit with fines, forced to shut down, lose your visa, or even get kicked out of the country. My advice, if you really want to start a business, do something online that doesn't need you to register in Thailand. It might still be a bit of a grey area legally, so check it out carefully, but I guess it's better than going through all the trouble here. Number 10. Not having a medical plan. You really need a medical plan. It doesn't matter if you are just visiting or you are staying long term. Stuff can go wrong in Pattaya, or anywhere for that matter, and you don't want to be stuck without insurance. A lot of people think medical care in Thailand is cheap. And sure, small checkups or basic stuff, it's not that bad. but one serious emergency can wipe out everything you've got. Heart attacks, motorbike crashes, strokes, even a nasty infection, any of that can land you in a private hospital with bills in the hundreds of thousands of baht. If you are not covered, it comes straight out of your pocket. A lot of expats end up in serious financial trouble just because they never planned for the unexpected. You might be fine now, but one bad fall or sudden illness can change everything in a day. You see it all the time. Families setting up GoFundMe pages for someone who had an accident, no insurance, and now is stuck in a hospital bed with bills piling up. Without insurance or an emergency medical fund, you are stuck with bad choices. Maxing out credit cards, borrowing money, selling stuff, or going to public hospitals where care might be worse and the waits are longer. The problem is, lots of people put off getting insurance. They say, "I'll deal with it later," or think nothing will happen to them. But if something pops up, insurance won't cover pre-existing issues, and by then it's too late. That is when things spiral fast. The smart move is, get private insurance that covers all major stuff. Or at least build a medical emergency fund and leave it untouched. In Thailand, your health isn't just about you, it's about your wallet as well. If you don't plan ahead, your body isn't the only thing that will take a hit. Your bank account will too. Number 11. No long-term financial planning. One of the biggest mistakes I see is thinking your pension or savings will keep you going forever. A lot of guys come here with a fixed income, assume it's enough, and never stop to ask themselves, what happens if I need a major operation? Or what if the visa rules change and I suddenly have to spend more? Without actually planning for the long haul, it's not a question of if your money runs out, it's a question of when. It's easy to get too comfortable living in the now. Thailand feels cheap, the lifestyle is so chill, and people forget they are still getting older, and life won't stop throwing problems your way. Prices go up, emergencies pop up, exchange rates swing around, and if you haven't thought about what the next 10 or 20 years might look like, you could end up in some serious financial trouble before you know it. Some guys blow through their savings way too early, assuming their pension will cover them or that the money will just keep stretching. But without a proper long-term plan, plenty of expats end up broke before they even realize it. Thinking ahead doesn't mean living in fear. It just means making sure you can enjoy life in Thailand today without worrying yourself over tomorrow. The expats that stick around and do well long term aren't just lucky, they are smart about it. They budget, plan ahead, and actually pay attention to where their money is going. Number 12. Trying to maintain Western standards of living. Another surefire way to blow through your cash here is trying to live the exact same Western lifestyle you had back home, down to every last detail. I'm talking imported food, fancy apartments, private gyms, brand name groceries, and all the little comforts you were used to before you left. Yes, while you can get all of that here, it comes with a price that piles up way faster than most people expect. Thailand can be really cheap if you roll with the local way of living. But if you are determined to eat imported cheese, drink craft beer, shop at foreign supermarkets, and live in a Western-style condo in a trendy area, your spending will shoot through the roof, sometimes even higher than what you were used to back home. Trying to copy your old Western life in a Thai city is basically just bringing all your old expenses with you and expecting something different to happen. The expats who actually make it financially long term aren't downgrading their lives, they are just realistic about it. They adjust to the Thai way of living and don't try to act like a king every single day. Number 13. Getting bored and overspending to fill the void. For a lot of foreigners, especially retirees, they move to Pattaya for the start of a chill, stress-free life. But once the initial buzz wears off and the routines settle in, boredom creeps up fast. With no job, no real responsibilities, and endless free time, a lot of guys end up struggling to find something to do during the day just to feel like they are keeping busy. And if they start thinking there's nothing in Pattaya beyond the bar scenes, then that is exactly what they'll end up doing, hitting the same bars over and over. It's an even bigger problem for guys who come here on a fixed income or with limited savings, because once that money dries up, there's rarely a backup plan to rebuild. The best way to dodge this trap is to pick up a hobby. Join a gym, volunteer, learn Thai, or finally learn something you've always wanted to do but never had the time before. Pattaya doesn't have to be just bars and beaches. You can make it whatever you want if you put a little effort in. Actually, some expat gave me this advice when I first landed here, in a bar obviously. He told me I needed a hobby or Pattaya would chew me up and spit me back out. And honestly, he wasn't wrong. And last, not having an exit plan. One of the riskiest things someone can do is come to Thailand with no backup plan, just assuming everything will work out perfectly. Plenty of guys sell everything, house, car, furniture, and they burn bridges with family and old jobs, and they move here thinking they'll never look back. They've probably imagined this move 100 times, rehearsed it in their head, and think they've got it all figured out. But things can go sideways, and they often do, and suddenly they've got no way out and no safety net to catch them. Thailand isn't always what people expect. Some guys just can't adjust to the life. They struggle to make real friends, or just end up drinking through all of their savings. Others hit health problems, get stuck with visa issues, or they just lose interest after the novelty fades. But once you've cut all ties with your old life, getting back becomes really hard and super expensive. You've got no job waiting, no house to go back to, and often barely any savings left to start over. That is when desperation kicks in. Some guys end up trapped here, living in cheap rooms, counting every baht, trying to survive on dwindling pensions or favours from friends. What was supposed to be a dream life turns into a complete nightmare. They can't live comfortably, but they can't leave, and that's why you see so many broken expats hanging about on Beach Road with their Chang bottles of beer from 7-Eleven. It's fine to want a fresh beginning, but it makes sense to keep a few doors open. Hold on to some assets, keep in touch with people back home, and maybe even keep a little base in your home country for emergencies. Life changes, and so do you. Pattaya might feel like a paradise today, but in 6 months or a couple of years from now, you might want out. I know plenty of people that moved here and left on their own terms because it just wasn't for them. So yeah, be careful when you move here. It can look like a dream when you imagine it, but in reality, there's a good chance you might end up hating it.